give you back the love that's real. I believe this belongs to you. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to stand with such conviction that we would never be moved to anger, even when spit upon, like Martin Luther King Jr. was? Wouldn't it be great to be able to not be knocked off center by some criticism or by some hateful words that were spewed your way? Instead, we would be able to stay centered and pray. In fact, Jesus asked us to pray for our so-called enemies and for people who persecute us. And we follow that example the best we can. Esther Nicholson in that song goes a step further, and she doesn't call these people enemies. She calls them our angels in disguise. Wouldn't it be lovely to look up on a person who is challenging us and bringing us havoc, or that we perceive as havoc, but that we know is really divine order, and say, that's our angel in disguise? You see, ancient wisdom tells us, be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. And we can find that in Romans chapter 12, verse 2. So the key to a new life of not reacting with anger is to begin to really, really understand the nature of our thoughts. In Unity, we say thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. These three words really reveal a great truth. And this is the truth. Our life experiences flow from the thoughts that we hold in our mind. Thoughts actually manifest themselves and become tangible in our life. That's why we say thoughts are things. To emphasize how important thoughts can be, I'd like to share with you a true story about a man who died. And his brother lived in another state, and of course he came to the funeral. And the minister and the undertaker shared with this man something about his deceased brother. This deceased brother had come to the undertaker several months before his death, and he insisted upon making funeral arrangements. And he was convinced that he was going to die soon. And he wanted everything to be in divine order and all the finances taken care of. And he told the minister that men in his family always died around their 60th birthday. And the brother said, you know, it's almost my 60th birthday, so I'm just really getting prepared. And in fact, he did die around his 60th birthday. But the living brother, wanted to share with the minister some important information. He said, you know what? That's not true, because not all men in our family die around the age of 60. He says, I'm 70, and I am living and I am healthy. And also, there's another family secret I would like to share with you. My brother was actually adopted. So, you see how important thoughts are. We can see from that story that our thoughts and our beliefs have a powerful effect upon our life and perhaps even upon our death. But now, each one of us know the truth about thoughts, and we probably have if we've been in Unity for a while. And we know that we can begin to change our thoughts. We can become aware of when we're beginning to spiral downward into negativity. And I bet most of you, I see a nodding head. We know when we're going down there, don't we? We know when it's happening. And we don't feel so good when that's happening. But what we can do is become still and turn to God when these thoughts that are things are not for our highest good. Because we know we're going to spiral more and more downward. However, I want you all to know that there is a big price to pay for this important knowledge that thoughts are things. Because thoughts are things, and we are the thinker who thinks the thoughts, as Sue K. Riley says, we therefore are totally responsible for our lives. You know, before now we may have believed that we were just helpless victims and that others determined the course of our lives. We believed that other people and circumstances out there were responsible for the way we were and the way we behaved and the situations in our life. But we must begin to realize that thoughts enter our mind by our own choice. The Apostle Paul gave us great insight into the way that we really need to think, and we can find that in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. And it's these words: "Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about that. Think about these things. Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you." Think about things that are honorable and pleasant and wonderful. So you might say, well, how do we know if we're thinking worthy thoughts? And our thoughts are revealed in our words. You see, words are the windows into the depth of our soul. And it's important for us to begin to notice the words that we speak verbally, and I think also that we speak in our mind. Because I know there's a lot hidden up there in my mind at times that I don't say. How about you? That's not so nice. And we need to begin to speak and think only positive words about ourselves, remember, loving ourselves, and to speak it about others too. Reverend Jim Rosemurgy, in A Daily Guide to Spiritual Living, gives us further insight in how to stand in our truth and to become aware of our thoughts by exploring our feeling nature, not only our thoughts, but our feeling nature. And he says on page 77, "Our thoughts are seeds which produce after their kind. Life, circumstances, and experience originate in the mind. However, life is not all circumstances and experiences. In fact, much of what we call life is made up of feelings. And emotion is actually the first fruit of the seed which we plant in the field of the mind." So he's saying before the thought comes the emotion, the feeling. In general, positive feelings tell us that the seeds are wholesome and productive. Negative feelings reveal to us the need to sow new seeds. It shows us that we need to turn it around and think and sow some new seeds of good thoughts within us. So he goes on to share with us that the very first step to banish pain, and we're talking about pain in our physical body, and we're talking about pain in our emotional body, pain in our mental body, is to fully experience what we feel. You see, the avoidance of the hurt just gives the pain a hiding place, and it will eventually come out and ambush us, sometimes in inappropriate ways and in inappropriate places. And as we become aware of our feeling nature, we find that feelings are really down to three basic categories, three kinds of feelings. We're either glad, we're sad, or we're mad. If you really think about it, those are the three feelings. And we've been taught in the past that some feelings are acceptable, like to be glad and to be joyous. You know, even in unity we go, oh, we want to be joyous all the time and full of bliss. And we've been taught that other feelings, like being sad or mad, are just not acceptable. And maybe some of you, as a little child might have been whipped, got a spanking. And then maybe you were told, now wipe that off of your face right now. I'll give you something more to cry for. So we were taught to stuff it down, weren't we? Don't act that way. I know I was told, don't act ugly. That must be a Southern thing. Don't act ugly. Got to act nice and sweet. Well, see, feelings are actually our first alert. They are like the messengers of the King, and it allows us to know the inner state of the kingdom that is within. And by remaining sensitive to our feelings, we will know whether we are thinking in a constructive manner or if we're thinking in some way that's going to be limiting us. So we don't have to label our thoughts as good or bad, saying, oh, I'm having a good feeling right now. Or if we're angry or sad, saying, oh, I got a bad feeling right now, and I'm just going to go with that, I know the other week, that last Sunday, someone was very angry and was expressing that. And I said, that's wonderful. And they go, but I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm not supposed to be feeling angry. And I go, why don't you just tell God in this moment, God, I'm really angry. I'm angry and I don't quite understand. And I know I don't want to be angry. But, just feel the anger right now and know it's all right. Know it's all right. And God will help you through it, because then that makes you aware. That makes you aware that you are angry. So, know that our feelings simply are. They're not good or bad. They're always the divine messenger to our kingdom. And again, on page 82, Reverend Rosemurgy tells us a little more about the nature of feelings. And he says, throughout your life, you may have thought there were two doors to your feelings. One door which you desired to open led to feelings of joy, peace, and love. The other door, which you tried to lock from the outside, led to hurtful emotions. But no matter what you did, the feelings locked behind the door escaped out. They overwhelmed you at times, although you tried to keep them safely secured behind the second door. Now, because of simple observation, you know that there are not two doors. There's only one door. And near the entrance lies the lame and the crippled negative emotions just waiting to escape. As you allow these emotions their expression, they are seen to be powerless and you are free. Then feelings of joy, peace, and love can course through your being. I think we're all looking for that peace and joy and love to course through our being. And trying to live a spiritual life, it doesn't mean that, of course, we'll never have problems again, that we'll never get mad again, that we'll never be sad again. There's going to be challenges because we're growing and dynamic and we're changing. And everything is truly in divine order, even when these challenges come to us. However, as each one of us strive to live a life centered in that Christ consciousness, we are becoming more and more aware of principles that enable us to work beyond all of these challenges, just like it did with Esther Nicholson. That finally she had a powerful story once that she carried around and was always talking about and thought it was their fault, that things were happening to her. But then she too was able to have such conviction and stand in her truth and know the truth of her being, that she had the mind of Christ and was able to overcome all those challenges that came at her. So the first step in moving beyond the challenges is to stand still. Be still and know that I am God. That's a favorite affirmation from Reverend Lynn Brown, the Vice President of Silent Unity, and we watched that little video clip the other week about World Day of Prayer. Be still and know that I am God. That could be our best, very best affirmation. Let's just say that together and really get the impact of it. Together, be still and know that I am God. Now, put your hands over your heart. Be still and know that I am God. And the truth of that matter is we all have that divine spark within us. We all have that capability of that Christ mind. We're not saying that we are God, the ultimate God, but we have that Christ mind. And so we are still and knowing that I am God, you are God, each one of us is God. So God bless all of you, and I say namaste. The Christ in me greets the Christ in each one of you. So be it.